Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something I think a lot of us wrestle with, maybe quietly. It's that nagging feeling, is my faith strong enough? Especially if you're wired as a learner, always trying to, get things right theologically. Or even if you just feel that spiritual pressure sometimes. It's so easy, isn't it, when things get shaky to turn inward? You start trying to believe harder, maybe pray more intensely, feeling like your whole connection, your security, kind of hinges on how strong your own response feels at that moment. And honestly, it's exhausting.
It really is utterly exhausting and sort of missing the point, isn't it? Our sources today guide us towards a pretty major rethink offered by the Scottish theologian Thomas F. Torrance. He was working in the 20th century. Yeah, Torrance basically looked at a lot of modern Christian thinking and said, hang on, the fundamental mistake here, the thing causing all that inward pressure, is that we're putting ourselves, our minds, our feelings, our efforts right at the center. We're trying to manage our faith, perfect it, get this sense of assurance all within our own little mental boxes. It's like trying to hold the ocean in a teacup and then worrying the teacup isn't quite full. It just doesn't work.
Okay, I like that analogy. So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to really unpack Torrance's idea. He wants us to completely flip the script, stop focusing on how weak or shaky we feel, and start and actually end with Jesus, with his objective, finished, perfect work. That shift, if we can grasp it, sounds like it offers some serious rest.
That's exactly the promise. Deep rest.
All right, so to make that happen, we need to dig into what you mentioned sounds like his biggest idea, the vicarious humanity of Christ. Vicarious, that means acting or experiencing something on behalf of someone else.
Precisely. And usually when Christians talk about substitution, we think almost exclusively about the cross, the substitutionary atonement. Jesus dying in our place, paying the debt. And that's absolutely vital, of course. But Torrance said, hold on, this whole idea of representation, of him acting for us, is so much bigger than just the crucifixion moment. His really profound argument is that Jesus' entire life, from start to finish, was lived vicariously on our behalf as our perfect representative before God.
Wow. Okay, hang on. The entire life, not just the death.
The entire life.
Yeah.
He wasn't just sort of waiting around for Good Friday. Torrance argues he was actively living the perfect human life, the perfect faithful response to the Father that we, because of sin, just can't sustain on our own.
So let me make sure I'm getting this. It's not just that he paid the penalty for our failures, but that he actively lived the life of perfect faithfulness as us, in our place.
Exactly. Think about it. His perfect trust in the Father, never wavering. His absolute obedience, not just to the letter, but the spirit of God's will. His constant prayer life. Torrance says all of that. That was for us. He wasn't just setting an example, though he did that too. He was accomplishing our righteousness. He lived the life we couldn't, so he's our representative in life, not just our substitute in death.
Okay, that makes the life of Jesus feel incredibly relevant to my Tuesday morning struggles, not just, Easter Sunday. But, all right, here's the question that pops up then. Maybe it feels a bit uncomfortable. If Jesus lived the perfect faith for me, does that kind of let me off the hook? I mean, what about my faith, my trying, my struggling, my moments of doubt? Where does that fit in?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's exactly where Torrance goes next, leading to what might be his most freeing idea. He's very clear. Our faith, our subjective experience of trusting God, it's not something we generate from scratch. It's not a performance we put on to earn points or meet some standard. It is, he says, a participation. We get to participate in the perfect faith that Christ already offered.
Participation, not origination. That feels different. We're invited into something already complete.
Exactly. And this is where he uses that beautiful analogy of the echo. It really helps make it click, I think. Torrance described our subjective faith, my personal act of trusting, your personal act of trusting, as being like an echo. An echo of Christ's objective, unwavering, rock-solid faithfulness to the Father.
An echo, okay.
Think about how an echo works, right? It has no power of its own. It doesn't create the sound.
Well, it just reflects it.
Precisely. It depends entirely on the original voice. If the original sound is powerful and clear, the echo carries that same quality, even if it's faint.
So the value isn't in the volume of my echo, like how strongly I feel my faith at any given moment.
That's the liberation. The value of your faith isn't in its loudness, its clarity, its emotional intensity. Its value comes entirely, 100%, from the original sound it's echoing. It resonates with Christ's perfect faithfulness.
So even my little faith, my fumbling attempts, my doubts, they're still connected to his perfection.
Yes. Torrance would say that little flicker, that weak echo, it's taken up, it's held, it's perfected in Christ's perfect faith. Not because you tried harder, but because it's oriented towards him, the source. the pressure to measure the echo just dissolve
Yeah.
because the original voice is flawless and constant.
That is genuinely paradigm shifting. Okay, let's make this super practical. For the learner listening, trying to get their head around this, what does this actually change on a Monday morning? If we start looking inward and really fixate on Christ's perfection for us?
Well, the implications are pretty radical, actually, because you're shifting the very foundation of your spiritual security away from your shaky feelings onto his solid reality. Our analysis of this points to, I think, 3 really key takeaways, really liberating consequences. First one, you can stop measuring your faith. Seriously, just stop.
Stop the spiritual self-checkups.
Exactly. That whole exhausting cycle of, am I believing enough? Is my faith strong enough? Am I sincere enough? It just collapses. Why? Because your assurance, your standing with God, rests entirely on the quality of Christ's response for you, which is perfect.
Not on the quality of my response to him.
Right. His response is your response.
Yeah.
Representatively. Your security becomes objective like, well, with gravity. It's there whether you feel it strongly or not. It's not subjective like your mood today.
Wow, that just dismantles so much performance anxiety in religion, doesn't it? Think of the wasted energy.
So much energy, which leads to the second point. We get a much richer understanding of grace. Grace sustains, not just saves.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, often we think of grace as just the starting point, right? The pardon for sins that gets us in the door, which it is. But Torrance helps us see grace as this continuous, ongoing reality. It's Christ's perfect life and faithfulness actively upholding you every single moment.
So it's not just a past transaction, it's a present reality, like an operating system running in the background.
That's a great way to think about it. Yeah.
Yes.
An active, constant system of support. You aren't just saved by his perfection. You are sustained by it right now, this very second.
And if that's true, if we're constantly sustained by a finished work, then our motivation for, say, obedience or worship must change completely.
Absolutely. And that's the third really crucial consequence. You are free to respond in love, not fear. Think about it. Obedience, worship, doing good works, loving your neighbor.
Yeah.
They stop being these anxious attempts to prove yourself, to shore up your shaky standing, to make sure you're good enough.
Because your standing is already secured by Christ.
Precisely. So now all those things, obedience, worship, service, they become grateful responses. Spontaneous overflows of thankfulness for a work that is utterly finished and perfect on your behalf. You're not performing for security anymore. You're performing from security.
Performing for versus performing from, that distinction feels like everything. That's the deep rest we were talking about earlier, isn't it?
Yes.
Especially today, in a world that just screams, perform, achieve, measure up, spiritually too. Torrance's message basically says, take a breath. The ultimate performance pressure is off. It's been met.
The perfect response to God, the one we strive for and always fall short of. It has already been given in Christ. It is finished.
And so our only real job, maybe the most freeing job description ever, is just to live in the freedom of that echo, to let his perfect sound shape our lives.
And maybe that brings us back to that initial anxiety we talked about, the one the learner often feels. If your anchor holds firm, not because of how tightly you grip it, but because of the anchor itself. Well, that leads to a really practical question for you to chew on today.
Okay.
If your assurance, your security, doesn't actually depend on the volume or the feeling or the strength of your personal faith, what does that freedom release your energy to do today? Instead of constantly looking inward, measuring the echo, where can that energy go outward? Into love, into service, into just living gratefully from that place of rest? That's something worth pondering.